So the Lord's taught us, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the first and great commandment, and the second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets. Have you ever thought that life would be much simpler if you could completely forget about your own needs and wants and concentrate all your energies on the needs and wants of others? Now, certainly we all arrive at adult life with a powerful inherited tendencies to be too self-centered and too concerned about natural things rather than spiritual ones. The Lord wants us to recognize the way these tendencies show up in our motives, thoughts, and actions. He wants us to seek His help in working to make other motives, thoughts, and actions the basis of our lives. If we work with the Lord to have a love for Him and for our neighbor, the guiding force in our daily thoughts and decisions, how will this affect us? Imagine a woman that has progressed in a regeneration or spiritual rebirth much, much further than the vast majority of people achieve. She will have a tremendous amount of peace, trust, and strength in her life. She will do many things that truly serve the welfare of the people around her. Will she have completely forgotten about her own needs and wants? Probably much of the time they won't dominate her attention, but they will still be part of what she has to consider. And she will be aware of them, more so at some times than at others. The Gospels record the words of a human being who has progressed farther in regeneration than we could ever possibly achieve. Jesus the Christ inherited tendencies from his mother Mary that allowed the devils to try and lead him astray. He had to battle these tendencies through times of temptations, as you and I do. We have to fight our hereditary tendencies to believe evil things are really good and desirable, to think false ideas are true, and to act from both of these. Throughout his life, Jesus defeated the devils in every battle, gradually becoming more fully one with his infinite soul. At the end of his natural life, when he had nearly completed this process of spiritual perfection, what do we see of his thoughts and concerns? In the Garden of Gethsemane, the night before his crucifixion, we know that he prayed, "O my Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as you will." While he knew that it was absolutely essential that the sad and terrible events of the next day had to occur, he still did not welcome them with a part of his mind. He wished that the terrible temptations and battles could pass from him. The Gospel of Mark records his state of mind that evening as follows. He began to be troubled and deeply distressed. Then he said to the disciples, "My soul is exceedingly sorrowful, even to death." The Gospel of Matthew records Jesus' final words as being, my God, Why have you forsaken me? Why have you forsaken me? Even at the very end of his life, when he had nearly completed the process of becoming perfectly one with the love and wisdom of his inmost soul, the infinite God, Jesus could not and did not forget himself and could still feel despair and abandonment. The Lord doesn't call us to forget ourselves. He calls us to be guided by what is good and true. He calls us to love him and to love our neighbors as much as we love ourselves. He calls us to be wise stewards of the life, gifts, and talents he's formed within each of us and our roles in the uses he calls us to serve. That stewardship is perhaps exactly what the Lord spoke of on the sixth day. Overseeing things, not to dominate them for self-interest, but to be wise stewards. But back to ourselves. How are we good stewards of our own life? How well do we take care of ourselves? Many of us grew up being told, and at times seeing for ourselves, the destructive evil within self-centered thoughts and concerns. We've been exhorted with the words, "Don't be selfish," and "Think about others." Learning not to be self-centered is important and is an even essential lesson. Much evil comes from exclusive self-love, but self-love can be misunderstood. Consider how you were taught to care for things that had been given to you when you were young, such as clothes, toys, or a new bicycle. Or take, for example, the care of tools. Many of us grew up in houses where there was a father who wanted us to not misuse, lose, or haphazardly leave around his tools. We were supposed to take good care of them. We were not to lend them to someone else who would mistreat them or lose them. Even if the tool was our very own, we were expected to take care of it. We would get a strong negative response if we said, "It's my hammer and I can leave it out in the rain if I want." Same is true of good clothes we were given as children. They were not to be worn at the wrong time so that they were rapidly destroyed, or stained so that they no longer were useful as dress clothes. Now, tools are natural things. Clothing is something natural. But there's ways in which we're called to take care of it. We know that the Lord does not want us to love clothes or tools in themselves, but rather we're to appreciate their ability to serve higher goals, to be useful. Now consider that the Lord has given each of us a wonderful set of gifts. He's given us our natural body, our natural mind, and our spirit. He's given them to us, and they are ours. How well do we take care of these gifts? How well do we take care of ourselves? Considering the opening line from the lesson from divine love and wisdom in this sermon, the love of self and the love of world by creation are heavenly loves, for they are loves of the natural person that can serve spiritual loves as a foundation to a house. The Lord speaks of us taking care of the welfare of our body by giving consideration to food, clothing, and housing. He speaks of being attentive to the welfare of our family, attentive to securing a good job, and even being honored for what we do. He speaks of us taking time for recreation and worldly enjoyment. The Lord speaks to us of these things all for the sake of each of us being a more useful human being. In another part of the book, Divine Love and Wisdom, the Lord talks about the things that He's created for us, things that can take care of our natural bodies, such as food, clothing, shelter, recreation, enjoyment, and also provide protection for us, our community, and our country. All of these allow us to be useful. Consider that our natural bodies are tools or clothing for our spirit. Do we take good care of them? Most of us take reasonable care about what we eat or drink, but could probably do better without being too obsessed with healthy food. We take reasonable care to stay warm and healthy. We take reasonable care for recreation, for sleep. We have to think of ourselves in all of these, and we know that that thought isn't evil. Taking care of ourselves is necessary for us to be useful in this world. Similarly, our natural mind is a tool. It's affected by the state of our natural body. We know what happens if we don't get enough sleep or consume too much of the wrong food or drink. We also know that we can feed our natural mind in itself. Consider the following passage from the True Christian Religion. How are we to be neighbors to ourselves can be shown through the following analogy. We should all provide our bodies with food. This has to come first. But the goal is to have a sound mind in a sound body. We also ought to provide our mind with its food, that is, with things that build intelligence and judgment. But the goal is to be in a state in which we can serve our fellow citizen, our community, our country, the church, and therefore the Lord. People who pursue this goal are providing well for themselves to eternity. So, do you take time to feed your mind? Certainly there are some who read too much or rather empty material. On the other hand, for some of us, reading can seem self-indulgent. We can wonder whether it's right to make time for it with everything else we have to do. Likewise, do we take time to allow our mind to sort through our experiences? Most of us have recently made time to find proper places for new Christmas gifts. We want to put them in a place where they will be easily found, where they will be most useful. Reflecting on our experience is similarly a process of putting things in their proper place. When we allow time for our mind to reflect on ideas and events, we can see their true significance and how we might want to do things differently in the future. The Lord also wants us to take care of our spiritual life and health. This likewise takes time and conscious choices. One way to take care of yourself spiritually is making time to read the Word and to reflect on its meaning for your own life, whether it's the Old Testament, New Testament, or teachings for the new church. A pattern of reading and reflection is part of what the Lord calls us to. We need to take time to read also other books that can help us better understand how the Lord has created us, how He cares for us, and our responsibilities in following Him. Taking care of ourselves spiritually also means making time for prayer, for talking with the Lord about the important issues of our spiritual life. We can pray asking for strength and for insight. We can ask the Lord to guide us as we seek better self-understanding so that we might see ourselves as the Lord sees us. It's not easy for us to find a balance of taking care of ourselves and being appropriately concerned about the needs of others. It's not a balance that we will find once and for all, but rather we'll need to keep establishing over and over again with the Lord's help. The evil spirits that seek to influence our daily thoughts and decisions love to have us be self-centered, when this will be destructive. And they love to distract us from taking care of ourselves, when this will keep us from being as useful as we could be. They love to distract us from important issues of taking wise care of others and ourselves, and turn our attention to things that are trivial and inconsequential. As we begin a new calendar year, think of the Lord inviting you to reflect on how well you take care of yourself and how He asks us to balance our caring for ourselves and others. It's a balance we need to decide for ourselves. There are times when we should recognize that others' needs and wants are not always higher than our own. Some of us need to be more aware of this than others. If we always give of ourselves, no matter what the personal cost, we will be mistreating, misusing, even wasting the wonderful gifts the Lord has given us. Today, in this coming week, and throughout this coming year, the Lord invites you to consider what you can do to better care for your body, mind, and spirit. He invites you to this work not for the sake of yourself alone, but so that you can take better care of the gifts the Lord has given you, so that you can better serve those around you. The Lord invites you to take good care of yourself so that you can better serve Him. Amen. Please rise.